You just killed James Bond.
It's over.
There was surprise news yesterday about one of Hollywood's best-known movie franchises.
News that just broke today.
Some breaking news.
Bond news.
The news has Hollywood shaken and stirred.
It's big news for Bond.
They're handing the franchise over to Amazon.
Amazon has taken over the 007 franchise.
World domination. Same old dream.
It's over. Or is it?
If they do it well, it'll work.
I understand why people want something new.
Let's just hope that creative people will come in charge.
Do I think that Amazon can make a great James Bond movie? Of course I do.
It's going to be a really interesting few years.
My martini glass is half full tonight. I hope. Yeah.
I hope.
Bond, I need you back.
I never left.
A few weeks ago, news broke that Amazon was going to be taking over creative control of the most famous spy in all of fiction.
Bond. James Bond. My name is Bond.
James Bond.
My name is Bond.
James Bond.
Bond. My friends call me James Bond.
Wow. Now there's a mouthful.
Since the films were first produced beginning in 1962 with Dr. No, the franchise has been under the creative control of a very small group of people. First, it was Albert R. Cubby Broccoli and Harry Saltzman. They worked together producing the first 9 films until Saltzman's departure in 1975. Cubby Broccoli continued to produce the films alone until 1985 when he brought in his stepson, Michael G. Wilson, as a co-producer. They produced the next several films until 1995's Goldeneye, when Cubby Broccoli handed over creative control of the entire franchise to Michael G. Wilson and Broccoli's own daughter, Barbara Broccoli, who is Michael G. Wilson's half-sister. Those two took over and they produced every James Bond film from Goldeneye right up to No Time to Die in 2021. So if you're counting, that's just 4 people in control of a franchise that has spanned 59 years and 25 films. 4 people. Of course, there were countless writers, directors, executive producers, and others involved in all of these movies, but it came down to just 4 people who had the final say. And now, Michael G. Wilson has retired, and Barbara Broccoli will be focusing on other projects going forward. Creative control no longer rests in the hands of just 2 people, but an entire mega corporation that just 2 years ago spent $300 million on their own James Bond knockoff series that I guarantee you did not watch.
There's my guy.
It's over.
Goodbye, Mr. Bond.
Or is it? No one can deny that it was remarkable that just 4 people oversaw 25 films. But that creative control didn't always equal creative quality.
My usual suite, please.
Why would you need an invisible car to drive in snow? People would be able to see the tracks in the snow. So he's snowboarding, and you're using music from the Beach Boys?
You must become Japanese. Why don't you just dye the parts that show? Men always come first. Women come second. I might just retire to here. Speak up, darling. I can't hear you.
What she needs is a man to dominate her, to make love to her enough to make her love him.
Let me go, damn it, there's a bomb in there!
I'd so dreaded the prospect of making this tedious journey alone.
The bubbles tickle my Tchaikovsky.
My name is Pussy Galore.
You're joking.
Christmas Jones. And don't make any jokes, I've heard them all.
I thought Christmas only comes once a year.
I am looking for Dr. Goodhead.
You just found her. Then pump her for information. You'll just have to decide how much pumping is needed, James.
Imagine if Amazon makes some sort of animated James Bond show for kids. That would be outrageous.
Bond. James Bond Jr. While he rescues the girl.
Anyway, my point is, we have been here before. The James Bond series has had many lows, many deep, deep valleys, and they've had to creatively pivot several times. If we look at Pierce Brosnan's tenure, the first one was a Cold War throwback that felt fairly character-driven and even somewhat grounded. His last entry, though? Low point. A major creative pivot was in order for the next entry. A reboot, a refresh, something to bring James Bond into the modern era. Enter Daniel Craig. Believe it or not, his casting was extremely unpopular with some people at the start. There were even websites devoted to how much people hated him, several of which are still going. Let it go. Live and let die. So with the release of Casino Royale, James Bond was now thoroughly grounded in the grittiness of international espionage. And parkour.
Parkour! Parkour!
With this reboot, a much darker and less fantastical approach was used throughout, including the film's movie posters. Previous Bond posters were often loud montages of explosive adventures and beautiful damsels, so excited to be in the presence of the master spy. But with this one sheet, we have Eva Green's character Vesper frowning in the background as Daniel Craig's Bond coolly walks away, bow tie and suit jacket flapping in the wind. It kind of almost looks like they just got into some sort of an argument and they don't want to make any more of a public scene. Fine. I'm not going to talk to you anymore. Yeah, I know. Keep walking. Casino Royale is a triumph, and I love it. Craig and Green have some real on-screen chemistry, so much so that I would say subsequent Bond liaisons really pale in comparison. Even 4 movies later in Craig's final film, Bond is still obsessed with Vesper. The franchise was successfully retooled, refreshed, and refined. Mission accomplished, can't wait for the next one.
I don't know. What am I drinking?
So I would say Quantum of Solace unfairly gets a little bit of a bad rap. I actually like it. Yes, it does drag at points and the villain is a little bit of a cardboard cutout. It has one of the best opening sequences of the entire franchise, and I really like the visuals of the title song, more so than any of the other Daniel Craig entries. Apparently Daniel Craig had to rewrite scenes on set due to the 2007 Writers Guild of America strike, so in certain ways we're lucky to have gotten the movie that we got. I think it's best enjoyed watched immediately back to back with Casino Royale. Don't even wait, just treat it all as one long movie. You might like it, or you still might think that it's a piece of shit. The posters continued the trend of favoring a singular, subdued image. Powerful, but kind of a far cry from some of the franchise's earlier posters. Still, there's something undeniably electric about Daniel Craig as Bond in these posters. Even just his silhouette makes an impact. 4 years later, Skyfall was released, the single most financially successful James Bond film of them all. And for good reason, it's dazzling. Roger Deakins creates these incredible images playing with shadow and firelight. This is the best looking James Bond by far. Judi Dench gives her franchise best performance and adds a real emotional urgency to the whole thing. And Craig is better than ever, settling into a beaten and cynical Bond, grasping for relevancy in a changing world. This entry also produced what I would say is one of the franchise's all-time best movie posters. Simple, clean, and effective. The inside of a gun barrel never looked so good. The dizzying highs of Skyfall were sadly laid low, low, low with Spectre,
the author of all your pain.
This is Daniel Craig's version of parasailing off a glacier, having a monotone Christoph Waltz reveal that he's Bond's adoptive brother with a long-standing grudge, and he's been secretly plotting against him in the shadows for decades. That kind of writing was only fit for James Bond Jr.
I should have known.
Nice throwback. Okay, the best part of this film is the amazing Day of the Dead sequence at the beginning, and the poster reflects that. Moving on, finally, to No Time to Die, Daniel Craig's swan song entry in a much-delayed pandemic movie. Thrilling, emotional, and long. So very long. This felt like a fitting end to the Craig era, and a more definitive end to the character than we've ever seen on screen before. I wonder if producers Broccoli and Wilson had an inkling that their tenure was going to be coming to an end, so they decided to end the franchise on their own terms.
You just killed James Bond!
The poster for this entry is extremely generic, but I had to get it to close out my series collection. So now now, the future of the franchise is in the hands of Amazon. People are concerned about a dilution. We'll start to get countless TV series, spin-off movies, more reality shows that no one will watch. I think these fears are warranted. From the studio that brought you The Rings of Power doesn't exactly inspire confidence. However, I think there could be a way forward. Amazon, if you're watching, and I know you must be, I implore you to listen to my advice. Why should we listen to you, you might ask? Well, I do consider myself somewhat of an expert on these movies, and I would counter with my own question. Amazon executives, do any of you own a complete collection of Daniel Craig James Bond movie posters plus the James Bond cologne? I didn't think so. Here is my advice. You have all the money in the world. Go out and buy yourself a Kevin Feige. Go out and find someone to head up this franchise, someone with a passion and a reverence for the material, who knows what worked in the past and what did not. He or she should create a roadmap for the next 3 to 5 films, and as long as all this other bull content that you're so desperate to make feeds into those film installments, we should be good. Take those lessons, stand on the shoulders of those giants, and do what James Bond has done so successfully in the past. Take something popular and make your own James Bond version of it. Find your Kevin Feige, your James Gunn, your Barbara Broccoli. Wait. Right, you did have this already, but you didn't listen to her, and she called you f***ing idiots in the press, and you found out and got super mad and bought her out for $1 billion. It didn't matter how much it cost, you wanted full, total control so that you could make content. Yeah. Okay, well, learn from this mistake and go out and find your Kevin Feige. That should be your #1 priority. Do not think about casting a James Bond until you have your Kevin Feige in place. They should have a major say in who plays this character and how they play it. That should not be a decision made by committee. Oh, look, it's a tweet from Jeff Bezos, one of the wealthiest people in the world and the owner of Amazon. Who'd you pick as the next James Bond? It's over.
Right, Bronson, we're going to do kite surfing. Tsunamis today.
Kite surfing, a tsunami. Oh.
You were a very good secret agent. Really?